So lately there was footage of Gothic Remake combat, and while it has some potential, it really needs some improvement right now. I've already made a video about it, but here I would like to compare it to the other games, how it is done there and why it may look better and, first of all, more correct. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Gothic Remake should copy all those games, but some things like camera movement are more pleasant to the eyes there, and I think could be a good source of inspiration. So let's talk about combat movement and movement in general. So take a look how Nairas rotates here. He doesn't use any steps to do that, he just rotates over an axis by some magical power. His change of direction is artificial. Let's take a look how it works in Witcher 3. Here I have a free camera, and when I'm walking and I change direction, he realistically moves. And when I'm walking to the right, and now change direction to the left, he does the step that changes the direction. It doesn't happen automatically. The step is the thing that puts him in motion in the second direction, in the opposite direction. And here, even more interesting thing, like now my character is looking forward, but I will move the camera to the other side. So now by pressing W, it will be forced to change direction where he was. And now I'm pressing W, and it was pretty much seamless. He used his foot to change direction, not magical force that rotated him. Let's take a look how it works in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, the transitions between animations aren't that good. Like, there is almost no transition between those animations when changing directions, but at least it looks better than weird transitions. I think no transition is better than the weird transition and those weird things that character sometimes does in Gothic Remake with his feet. But to be fair, there is also weird sliding when coming back to idle animation when you just press W. Like, look at that. That the character slides his feet to match the idle animation when you decide not to walk after clicking W one time. But it isn't that invasive, as you only, most of the time, just press W for a longer time and walk. And to be completely fair also for Gothic Remake, there are moments like this when walking looks completely normal, and those transitions doesn't look that bad. Here also those attacks are just completely normal. The character doesn't move magically, he does normal steps, and even here when he walks backwards. And then there are those moments where animation just stutters and there is no transition between frames, or there is this weird crossing his legs like here. Not to mention the moment when Kirgo is pulled to the player and slides towards him. It's just unfair, and when you play, you calculate the distance and you think you're out of range, and if you are not, even though you thought you are, it's just irritating and it can cause even rage quits. And here, just for comparison, a moment when Scavenger attacks. It's pretty normal, it's predictive, it's well done, and that's how it should work. Attacks should be predictive, and if an enemy travels a distance, animation should fit the distance it travels. Here Scavenger jumps. It's fine. And when it comes to sliding during walking backwards, changing directions and stopping and going back to idle animation, I guess this just needs some reiterating over animations and animation improvement and tweaks. But when it comes to pulling and sliding toward enemies, I assume it has something to do with locking mechanic. Something that I really can't understand, as the only thing that locking mechanic should affect is direction of attack, not its length. And once again we can have a look at Witcher and Dark Souls. In those games, when player locks to the enemy, the character rotates towards the opponent, and then attacks are also directed towards it, but length of attack is never changed, and even if it is, animation always fits. And now about camera. Sometimes it works almost fine, as in the footage here with mole rats, and sometimes it just looks chaotic, like when fighting with Goblin and Fire Lizard and those scavengers when it changes target. And I've seen at least a few comments saying it's chaotic. Let's try to analyze what can cause that chaos. First of all, camera seems to be swinging with attacks, and while I understand it was probably done to increase feeling of the attacks, I have a footage of God of War which has pretty similar camera placement, and I encourage you to look to the corner of the screen right now. Even though God of War has very nice feeling of attacks, camera seems to stay in place. In Gothic Remake, it sways like a ship during storm. And I'm not saying it should be removed. Maybe it should be adjusted to be less intrusive and overwhelming. The other thing is, the remake camera seems to be stuck on player's back and moves immediately when character moves. This, connected with unrealistic distances player travels during attack, may also cause this feeling of chaos. When fighting with Moirats, even though the camera works the same, distance traveled is much smaller and problem doesn't seem to exist that much. So maybe nothing needs to be changed when it comes to camera movement, but in Witcher, for example, it seems to be a little smoothed out. In Dark Souls, on the other hand, it is stuck to the player as in Remake, but here again, distance that is traveled is much smaller and camera is further away from player, so negative effects of that are unnoticeable. And an important note, I hope devs know the best what the feeling they are looking for. It looks like it could be pretty nice dynamic experience. The thing I'm saying is, it looks a bit chaotic for now and I'm just exploring options that could improve that. Maybe we should put camera further away from player or let player decide how far away it is. Adjust swinging of camera or remove it. Adjust screen shake and screen pause a little bit. I love screen shake by the way, just proper amount. Or maybe most of camera problems will disappear once players start traveling realistic distances during attacks. And all of those are questions, not answers. And now, few quick notes. AI. It should at least not be stupid. Here this goblin just stands and waits for axe in the face. Changing hands while attacking with axe? Even fancy Kratos doesn't do that. B and C models, they could use some love. I know they are not going to be seen from short distances, but they could really use some improvement. And the most important, please make it responsive. Make character immediately responds to player pressing a button and make NPCs enter a dialogue as fast as player presses interaction. And make it so it is easy to interact with objects so you don't have to stay precisely in front of the ladder to interact with it. And that's it. I think Alchemia is doing pretty good job on recreating Gothic world in Unreal Engine. Locations look stunning, maybe except Xarda's tower interior. I just want to explore all those locations, and really, provided character progression, exploration, and writing will be satisfying, it can be pretty solid experience that also reaches new players. But it won't happen if animations will stay the way they are right now. So pretty please, a warm request to Alchemia. Work hard for that, because it seems like the last step to making this remake a success, improving on combat and animation. Thank you, and see you all in the colony.